How's it going, everybody? And welcome to my 12-hour Fright Fest movie marathon as put forth by our Chataway87. Once more, I did his 24-hour movie marathon over the summer, and that was pretty fun. So I thought, well, 12-hour movie marathon, no problem. So here I am. It's a horror movie marathon, watching horror movies. 12 straight hours. Yeah. So, this time around there's only 3 movies that you have to watch, and then the rest is up to you, and you have to answer some questions, and I'll be doing that. But the first horror movie, you have to watch one of the Universal monster movies. You know, the classics from back in the day. Now, there are quite a few of those that I actually have not seen. So, this will not be a problem for me. I have been wanting to go back and check those out for quite a while. I think that the one I'm going to be checking out first is going to be Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, I have never actually seen that movie, but I have seen clips from it, and I do know some of the movies that were inspired by it. I just haven't actually seen that particular movie yet. So, yeah, as a film student, film studies student rather, I'm sure I will see a lot that has been used in subsequent horror films, and well, subsequent films of pretty much every genre, at least as I've been told. I'm expecting to see that. Anyway, so I will get back to you when I've seen that movie, and you will get a review from me of what I thought of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've got to say, I'm really loving the scientific approach that this movie is taking. Like the whole background to the opening of it all, just entirely scientific. I love that. You don't often see that in horror movies. You don't often see that in any movies nowadays. So, yes, I approve. Oh God, I'm loving this movie. It's a lot like, the opening was a lot like Jurassic Park, I have to say. It reminded me of that. So I'm sure Jurassic Park was pulling from this movie, you know? Not the other way around, obviously, but yeah. I thought that was kind of cool just to see those little things oh, so in Jurassic Park that was kind of an allusion to this. Ah, yeah. I do have to say, I'm just seeing a lot of comparisons that can be made to movies like Anaconda, like Placid. Oh God, I hate that movie. But yeah, just all those, horror movies on the Amazon kind of got their start here, didn't they? I'm really liking the scientific aspect, but at the same time, there's this whole, she's a woman, so leave her behind. She can't handle this stuff. She's too frail and fragile, and it's just for how scientifically intelligent the rest of the movie is, that just gets in the way. It's oh, it's so intelligent until that ignorance is spilled out of their mouths. But, I'm not going to complain too much about that because otherwise it's fantastic and I'm loving it. There's the scene where the captain is saying, okay, yeah, we're going to get out of here. And one of the characters is like, no, you're not. And he's pulls out a knife. You were saying? I laughed for a good minute or two just about that. It was hilarious. It's it's fucking right. So yeah, I'll get back to you with my official review after I'm done watching it. Okay, so what did I think of Creature from the Black Lagoon? Well, I already talked a little bit about it while I was watching it, and yeah, I feel like they're pretty much the same. I liked it. I felt like there was a lot of interesting stuff in there, like the scientific approach you don't typically see in horror movies, even now. You don't typically see in any movie, like generally speaking. Um, of course, there was like there was like a hint of religion at the beginning, and then the rest was almost pure science until they get to the point where they're talking about the, you know, got to keep the women behind. The women folk can't handle nothing, and it's like, oh Lord, really? Sexist bigots. But yeah, I mean, it takes an interesting turn at the end where I didn't see it coming. Like, what? Why is he? Oh, but overall, I liked it, and now I want to see more Creature from Black Lagoon because that ain't the end of the story, man. It just isn't. Um, the music, I mean, da 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 da, just keeps coming up over and over again. And the idea of like a creature that is like a cross between a man and a fish living on the same plane of existence that we live on, um, having existed all this time. I mean, we're always thinking about stuff like that could be possible. Like, for instance, Bigfoot. Bigfoot people, some people believe in, some people believe that the Bigfoot creature is something that has existed for about as long as humans have, maybe. I don't know. I don't personally believe in Bigfoot. I just don't. Okay? If you do, that's fine. But I don't subscribe to that belief, although I do find his appearance to be rather creepy. Same goes for Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's like this part of life that you don't understand. But in scientific research, that's how you discover stuff like that. So it's not scary monsters anymore. Suddenly, it's just another part of life that we never knew about. And I like how they go and explore that aspect of it too in this movie. I really did like that. So, yeah, I also like the underwater camera. I don't know if they actually used an underwater camera. It looked like they did, but it could have been, I don't know. But, yeah, I like that because it's like an early example of that, I think. And just all the scenes, I mean, how hard do you have to work to get all of those scenes done so well underwater? It's got to be hard to do. But, I mean, for the most part, everything made sense in the movie. It was completely, together. It had all the shit together, so to speak. Unlike other movies that have come after it and tried to, follow in its footsteps and have failed miserably. So, yeah, honestly, I was thinking, I might actually like to see like a new remake of this in theaters. I don't know. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Creature from Black Lagoon. Sorry. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and watch. I mean, there's any number of zombie movies that you can watch, and that's one of the other movies. There are two other movies I need to watch: a zombie movie and a horror movie that I haven't seen yet, but I've always wanted to see. Um, for me, a lot of the movies that I'm going to watch today are going to be those that I haven't seen yet, but I want to see. So instead of going with the zombie movie, which you could do almost anything, and it would be any kind of zombie movie. There's just so many zombie movies out there. So instead of a zombie movie right now, I'm gonna save that for now. I don't know, maybe the movie I'm about to watch is a zombie movie. I don't know enough about it to make that, clarification. But I do know that it's a movie by Ty West, who also did House of the Devil. Now, this movie shocked me when I saw it because it really is like a return to the classic 80s horror movie. Ty West, I don't know, he's just really good at that kind of stuff. Now, is it cheesy? Is it corny? Is it campy? Yes. All of that and above, just like all 80s horror movies were. Don't even deny it, you know it's true. But yeah, this was really good. I mean, I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. I was not expecting it to be the kind of movie that it was. I mean, when you first find out that there's something going on, it kind of comes at you from out of nowhere. I showed this to a couple friends of mine, and the first scene where shit gets real, they saw that and they're just like, "Whoa, that escalated quickly." Yes, it did, and it does. So I don't know if I'm going to be expecting that from this next movie I'm going to be watching, but I am going to be checking out The Innkeepers, also a Ty West movie, I believe. And this one just came out like last year, or yeah, in fact I think it was last year, and it had mixed reviews. Some people liked it, some people didn't, but that tends to be the case with his movies. Like some people liked House of the Devil, some people didn't. I'm one of the ones who did like it. I feel like it goes in the it fits into the category, the same category as The Descent when we're talking about modern horror movies that are actually pretty good and they're paying homage to classic 80s horror movies and stuff like that. I mean, that to me, not only are they doing that, but like in the case of The Descent, they are, building on that and ability of practical and special effects now to make that work even better. So, yeah. I guess there are some of my thoughts right there on the future of horror, which is one of the questions that I have to answer. Um, I foresee the future of horror being very positive. I mean, there are always going to be those corny, campy, not even any good kind of horror movies out there. I mean, there's at least a dozen every year that are just like, really? This isn't even entertaining. This is just boring. This is the same tripe I've seen a million times before. But then there are some that are actually really good. Now, I'm going to be going to see Paranormal Activity 4 soon, when it comes out. And that's because I'm a pretty big fan of Paranormal Activity. Here, let me reach over and grab another DVD for you. I'm a pretty big fan of this movie, Paranormal Activity. Um, I've I've enjoyed the direction it's taken. It's not taken exactly the direction that I wanted it to take or that I thought it would take, but I've enjoyed it, and I've found a lot to like about the Paranormal Activity movies. Honestly, in terms of like a horror movie sequelitis type of thing happening, I understand how people feel about all the sequels that horror movies tend to spawn and how usually the sequels aren't even any good. I agree. I agree with that. Especially look at Saw. The sequels are just ugh. And Final Destination for me, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite horror movies. The sequels of that one are just horrible. Honestly, I feel like it never should have been made into a sequel. And the same can be said for Paranormal Activity. It didn't even need to be. You didn't even really need to make any sequel out of it. It was a perfect movie the way it was. But what they have chosen to do with Paranormal Activity, I feel like, is a lot better than what they usually do with horror movies and sequels to horror movies. They really have put a lot of thought and effort into the story, into making it make sense, into connecting it to the previous movies. It is a good example of what you can do with horror movie anthology, you know? So when I see stuff like that, I have to say, yeah, I'm pretty hopeful for the horror genre. And then when I see stuff from Ty West, maybe it's not the greatest stuff ever, but I mean, it's pretty good. And you've still got Ridley Scott out there making stuff like Prometheus, which maybe it isn't a horror movie, but it's following in the tradition of the horror movie, you know? So, yeah, I'm pretty psyched. I think that there will be some pretty good horror movies in the next few years. Hell, in the next decade or two. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way you can get rid of the horror movie in America, especially because it's at the root of American cinema. When you look at film history, the one thing that you don't actually, you're not actually taught a lot about in film history, speaking from experience, film studies student, is horror movies. But that is a travesty because anybody who looks back into the history books of film history in America knows that horror films were at the forefront of American cinema. I mean, they were one of the founding, genres of American cinema. And I think that says something, and I think that's important, and I think it's a huge mistake to just completely ignore that, as so many film studies courses do. But regardless of that, even if you are taking film studies courses like I am, and you're not getting all of that knowledge about horror movies, you can still see from what you do learn all of the things that horror borrowed from, and all the things that were borrowed from horror throughout film history. You can see how integral it was. Regardless of what you're taught, you can make the connections yourself and see for yourself that, yeah, maybe it's being ignored and maybe that's not right, but you don't have to ignore it. You can see for yourself. Horror is an integral part of American cinema, and I think it will remain an integral part for years to come. So there's my thoughts on that. I'm going to go check out The Innkeepers after I get something to drink. Catch you then. Oh, by the way, I started at 2:30. It is now 4:12. I just wanted to get that across because I forgot to tell you what time I started. 2:30 p.m. It is now 4:12 p.m. Going to get something to drink. Go on to The Innkeepers.